Alone in a jazz bar, she discovered an amazing connection when he whispered, "Let's create our symphony." Clara's heart raced as she stood alone in the dimly lit jazz bar, the air thick with sweat and smoky notes. The stage was her sanctuary, where every haunting melody echoed the dreams of a little girl raised on jazz, a sweet gift from her family that somehow felt like a curse. She strummed her guitar, fingers trembling, pouring her soul into the soft, lilting tune. But the reality was harsh. Every dollar earned barely scratched the surface of her mounting bills. The dreams that once danced around her like the warm southern wind now felt like heavy chains. In the back of the bar, shadows flickered, and she caught a glimpse of him, a tall figure with an enigmatic smile. They locked eyes for a fleeting second that sent a jolt through her. When her final notes slipped from her lips, she felt exposed, as if she had bared pieces of herself to a hungry crowd. That's when he leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Let us create our symphony." The simplicity of his words wrapped around her heart, teasing the edges of her guarded soul. Hope ignited as the rich, soulful notes swirled between them. They began to talk, exchanging stories like secrets under the stars. Derek was a musician, skilled and charming, but beneath that surface, Clara sensed an aching complexity. The struggles he faced, a world steeped in prejudice, a brown-skinned artist longing for acceptance, brought tears to her eyes. It broke her heart to realize the privilege she held and the weight he carried. She wanted to stand by him, support his dreams, but would her family understand? They had always valued stability over aspirations, tradition over the unknown. As the music pulsed around them, she felt a connection deepening, something raw and intoxicating that made her heart race. But just as she caught her breath, betrayal struck like a cold wind. A fellow musician, someone she had trusted, snatched her spot in an important showcase that could change everything. Anguish bubbled within her, a painful reminder of the dreams embroiled in family expectations. "What do I do?" she whispered, glancing at Derek, who traced her hand gently with his fingers. The warmth of his touch flooded her with determination. "Be brave," he said softly, his eyes fierce yet tender. "Don't let fear lock you away." His encouragement was everything she needed, yet it reminded her of the cliff she stood upon. Would she embrace the uncertainty of their shared symphony or retreat to the safety of conformity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension thickened as the jazz band pulsated, the audience swaying gently, unaware of her inner storm. Clara felt the weight of her world shift. She was at a crossroads, with one path leading to the artistry she craved and the other back to the comfortable confines of family approval. Just as the last note of the band faded, and her name echoed inside her head, Derek's voice reverberated again. "What will you do, Clara?" The question hung heavy, the air crackled with emotion. Would she let the music of her dreams ring out, or would she let silence swallow her whole? Clara's heart beat against her ribs like a restless drum. The bar's energy swirled around them, intoxicating and vibrant, but all she could feel was Derek's intense gaze anchoring her down. She could sense it, the dreams they both held, tethered to a rhythm that pulsed in the space between them. As the final note faded, something within her sparked anew. Derek's voice was a melodic inquiry. "It's your moment. You've got to grab it." His hand remained in hers, a steady comfort amidst her whirlwind of thoughts. What did being brave really mean? Clara pondered. Was it stepping into the spotlight she so desperately craved, or was it to follow the safe path her family laid out for her? That weight pressed heavily on her chest. The taste of betrayal still lingered, bitter and acrid. "Do you think I'm good enough?" she managed to ask, the vulnerability in her voice surprising even herself. "More than good enough," he replied, his faith in her shining bright through the shadows of doubt. "You have something special. The audience deserves to hear your voice." The sincerity in his words wrapped around her, coaxing her fears into submission, if only just for a moment. The band's trumpet solo soared, bringing the mood up like a jolt of electricity. Clara's fingers curled tighter around her guitar's neck as memories flickered through her mind. Family dinners peppered with conversations about practicality and success. Her mother's calm voice always floated above the chaos, do what makes you happy, but be wise. But could she pursue happiness without sacrificing everything? As if reading her thoughts, Derek leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. You know, I can still hear you when I'm not looking, he said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. You're beautiful when you play. Just let it flow. Don't think about your family, think about yourself. Clara felt a mixture of warmth and fear. This was the kind of truth that could both liberate and imprison her. What if I fail? The words spilled out, raw and unfiltered. Failure is just part of the journey, Derek reassured, squeezing her hand gently. What's worse is not trying at all. His words cut deep. Clara's mind raced. Who would she be if she chose the life she always dreamed about? Maybe there was room for both family expectations and her own desires. Perhaps it didn't have to be one or the other. Just then, the bartender approached, breaking the spell. How about a drink? He asked with a grin, oblivious to the conversation's weight. The moment of clarity faded slightly, but it pushed Clara to realize that making decisions meant confronting her fears, even in the simplest of moments. Derek's eyes sparkled with curiosity as he turned back to her. What will it be, Clara? You want to get up there and show them what you've got? Her heart pounded as she gazed at the stage, illuminated and beckoning, filled with memories of her childhood dreams. I think I want to, she stammered, a tremor of excitement rising. But even as the words left her lips, doubt crept in. What if she crumbled under the weight of her own expectations? As the band played on, Clara's decision loomed far larger than the music. Derek stood, offering his hand to her, his smile genuine. Come on, let us paint the night with our symphony. But before she could answer, a sudden shout pierced through the music, drowning out the anticipation in her heart. A confrontation was brewing at the bar, drawing everyone's gaze. Clara's resolve trembled in uncertainty. What would unfold next? Would she let her fears drown her voice, or would she reclaim the stage? The shout erupted like a bolt of thunder, shaking Clara out of her thoughts. People turned, their drinks forgotten, whispers rippling through the crowd as two men faced off at the bar, tension crackling in the air. Clara felt her heart race not just from the adrenaline of the altercation, but from the fear that the moment she was on the edge of might slip away. Derek's grip tightened on her hand. Ignore them, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Focus on what you want. She glanced back at the stage, its light glowing warmly, a spotlight ready to welcome her. But with every passing second, her courage whispered as softly as the fading notes of the trumpet. Should we go? Clara's voice trembled slightly. The commotion made her skin prickle. We'll stay, Derek replied, his gaze unwavering as he kept her hands secure. You're not going to let distractions win. Remember what you said? You want this. The scene at the bar escalated, fists were raised, and Clara's fingers itched to retreat. But Derek brought her back to focus. Look at me, Clara, he urged, leaning closer. They can't take this moment from you. The two men shoved one another, a glass shattered against the counter, the sound slicing through the air. Overwhelmed, Clara felt a surge of panic climbing her throat. Was this really the night for her to risk it all? Could she even muster the courage to shine on that stage with such chaos unfolding? Then, without warning, the band shifted gears, the rhythm pulsing a little thicker, more insistent. A saxophone dripped raw emotion into the mix, a cry that seemed to call directly to her soul, begging to be set free. Clara. Derek's voice pierced through the tension. What do you want? What does your music mean to you? It was as if he lit a match that ignited a wildfire in her heart. The memories flashed again, her guitar in the corner of her childhood room, the way her fingers danced across the strings. She had to reclaim that girl who dreamed without fear. I want to share my heart. she declared, the words bursting forth before she could second-guess herself. Derek's smile grew wide, encouragement radiating from him. Then let us do this. Grab that moment, Clara. With newfound determination, she took a breath and looked toward the stage. A calming wave washed over her, dousing her insecurities. Okay, she said, squeezing Derek's hand back as if binding their intentions together. Let us go. Just then, the bartender hopped onto the bar, attempting to break up the brawl. Clara seized the chance, taking Derek's hand and stepping forward. It was now or never. She marched toward the stage, her feet light yet steady, her heart racing with every step. As they approached, the fight behind them began to dissolve, the band keeping the energy alive, and the restless crowd quickly diverted their attention. Clara could feel their eyes on her, and for a split second, doubt threatened to creep back in. What if they didn't want to hear her? But then she recalled Derek's words, the way he believed in her, how his passion ignited a spark she thought was snuffed out forever. When they reached the edge of the stage, the singer from the band grinned at her. Hey, you ready to join us? With Derek's presence next to her, she felt invincible. Clara nodded, her throat still tight with fear yet her heart a drumline pounding with hope. Yes. The single word soared out of her, gathering strength as she stepped up onto the wooden stage. The crowd cheered, the band played on, and everything seemed to blur except for that moment, that melody that was waiting for her. She seized the microphone, feeling its weight, feeling the energy of everyone watching. Let us create a symphony, she whispered to herself, almost lost in the thrill of it all. But just as her feet aligned and her breathing steadied, the lights dimmed slightly. A heavy silence fell over the bar as an unexpected figure strolled through the doorway, someone Clara had never thought she'd see here, not tonight of all nights. Her heart dropped. How would they react to her now? Clara's breath hitched as she caught sight of the figure stepping into the bar. It was Sam, her estranged brother, tan and tousled from life on the road, but his eyes were sharp, cutting through the haze of anticipation. Memories filtered through her mind, a rush of old arguments, lost time, and unfulfilled expectations. Would he remember her dream? Would he care? The noise of the crowd faded into a dull roar. She looked down at the microphone, suddenly feeling its weight amplified, as if tying her to every moment that had led to this one. In that thick silence, she could see the recognition dawning on Sam's face. He paused, uncertainty flickering across his features, and for an instant, Clara felt exposed, like a canvas just waiting for paint. Clara? He called out, his voice cutting through the tension. There was a softness to it that she hadn't heard in years, but mixed in was also grief for everything they had lost. With the crowd behind her, Clara felt the sting of disbelief. Could she really stand up on that stage now? Sam's question sent a wave of conflicting emotions crashing over her. Anger for the distance he had created, longing for the connection they'd once shared, and the immense fear of judgment all bubbled up inside. Sam, she whispered, her voice barely making it to the mic. Suddenly, she wasn't just looking out at strangers, she was searching her brother's eyes, hoping for a spark of understanding. Would he judge her for this moment? Derek shifted beside her, his presence solid, radiating warmth and conviction. It's your moment, he murmured in her ear, urging her forward. She could feel his belief in her, and it tethered her to what she wanted tonight. Taking a deep breath, Clara turned back to the crowd. I'm here to share my heart with you, she declared, the tremor in her voice tempered by defiant resolve. Tonight's about breaking the barriers between us and within us. The band picked up the tempo, the saxophone whispering an invitation, its notes spiraling around her like a warm embrace. It felt like the universe conspiring to lift her spirit. She turned once more to Sam, desperate to draw out the brother she missed. This song is for all of us, she said, locking eyes with him, allowing the connection to flow. For those we love and those we lose. The first chord struck, filling the space with an electric pulse. Clara's fingers danced instinctively across the mic. The rhythm gripped her, awakening something deep and unshakable inside. She leaned into the moment, channeling every unspoken word, every frustration, every shred of hope into her voice. As she poured her soul into the song, she could see the crowd coming alive. Faces softened, head bobbing in rhythm, hand claps growing louder. Clara didn't just want to sing for herself anymore, she wanted to heal the wounds around hers and Sam's too. But in the back of her mind, a spark of anxiety lingered. What if this song was too raw for Sam? With a lingering glint of hurt in his eyes, would he understand? Would he mean what he said about family, about connection? As the last notes resonated in the bar, Clara's heart raced in sync with the fading echoes, unsure of how he'd react when the lights came back up. Suddenly, she realized she was standing on the edge of something larger than herself, the chance to reunite, to forgive, to grow. But still, as the applause roared, one lingering question gripped her. What choice would Sam make now? She could only wait and see, as the spotlight flickered, illuminating the path ahead. Clara stood frozen, the sounds of applause swirling around her like a gentle storm. Her heart pounded, still echoing the last notes of her song. The crowd was wild, but her gaze was solely on Sam. She searched his expression, desperately hunting for a sign of what was happening within him. The applause began to fade as the crowd settled, their cheers turning into murmurs of excitement. Sam was leaning against the bar, arms crossed, a mixture of emotions playing across his face. Clara caught glimpses of recognition and something like regret. Memories flashed through her mind, herself as a child, dancing to music in the living room, Sam spinning her around, laughing. How could that vibrant bond dissolve so easily? Derek, noticing her fixation, nudged her gently. Clara, you did it. You were incredible. His eyes sparkled with pride, but Clara barely heard him. She was too lost in the charge of the moment, weighing the possibility of reconnection against the shadows of their past. The band struck up a mellow tune, a slow ballad that wrapped its notes around the stillness. Clara's throat tightened as she saw Sam take a tentative step towards her. Did he really want to come closer, or was he just caught up in the music? For a second, she feared he might walk away again, perhaps back into the life he had made without her. Sam's voice was low, almost drowned out by the faint melodies. He approached, hesitating before reaching her side, the gap between them charged with unspoken words. You really sang your heart out. I wanted you to hear me, Clara admitted, her voice trembling. I needed you to know how much I've missed you. He swallowed hard, running a hand through his tousled hair. I've missed you too, he replied, eyes glistening. There was a sincerity in his gaze that drew her in, but layers of hurt still lingered between them like fog. I've made some choices, Clara. Some that I'm not proud of. There it was, the crack in their shared history, the weight of unspoken disappointments, the diverging paths they had taken. But Clara took a breath, summoning a courage that had eluded her for so long. We can talk about it. We can work through it. But you have to promise to be honest with me. Sam nodded slowly, the shadow of regret shifting in his eyes. You're right. We don't have to stay lost. The ballad faded, and in its place, Clara could hear a heartbeat, her own, no longer frantic, but steady, synchronizing with the flickering possibility of forgiveness. They exchanged small smiles, and in that moment, she felt something shift. As the band launched into a lively number, Clara felt Derek's presence retreating. He let them have this moment, knowing their connection needed space to breathe. Clara could feel the world around them blur as she focused on Sam. The clamorous bar faded, and the laughter of patrons swelled into the background. Can we go somewhere to talk? Sam asked tentatively. I don't want to rush this. Yes, let us go outside. The night air would be a fresh canvas for their reunion, a chance to breathe away the chaos and layer back together what seemed nearly lost. As they made their way out, a familiar thrill raced through Clara. She hadn't felt this spark of hope in years. But lurking behind it was still uncertainty. What truths lay ahead? Would they uncover the pain that had so long festered between them? Outside, the cool air greeted them, and with it came a whisper of new beginnings, a promise of understanding. And as they stood before one another, questions pulsed in Clara's heart. Just how deep would their conversation go? Would vulnerability lead them closer, or would the past continue to haunt? A flash of headlights illuminated their faces as a car passed, and in that fleeting light, she saw Sam's resolve firming. She took a step closer, tension crackling in the air. Would this truly be the moment they began to heal, or would they stumble back into shadows? The night loomed, full of potential and doubt. Clara held her breath, waiting for the answer that would determine if they could rebuild their bond or if they would remain strangers estranged. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the coolness of the night air fill her lungs. It was refreshing, almost life-giving, yet electric with the tension that hung between her and Sam. He stood there, still and contemplative, as if weighing every word before releasing it into the universe. Clara, he began hesitantly, his voice catching her off guard. I've thought about this moment for so long. What I'd say if I ever got the chance to see you again. His eyes searched hers, and she felt an urgency pulsing in the space between them. It's been hard for me. Hard how? Her voice was softer than she intended, cracking with emotion. Sam looked away for a moment, his brow furrowed. After everything, after we lost each other, I didn't take care of myself. I dove into my work, tried to fill the void with distractions, but nothing ever really worked. I felt like a ghost without you. Clara's heart ached with both pain and relief. A ghost. The term resonated deeply with her, as if he were voicing her own feelings of emptiness since their separation. You didn't have to face it alone, she whispered, stepping closer, her hand brushing his arm as if to anchor him. I thought I could, Sam said, a bitter chuckle escaping his lips. But loneliness has a way of showing you what you really want. And what I want is to. He paused, the weight of his admission hanging in the air, and Clara felt her breath quicken. What? She prompted, her eyes wide with anticipation. To be honest. I don't just want to be friends again. I want more. His voice was steady yet vulnerable, and a flicker of hope ignited in Clara's chest. She nodded, a smile breaking through her anxious facade. So do I. But how do we move beyond the hurt? There are so many things we need to talk about. He drew in a steadying breath, a hint of resolve in his eyes. We'll take it one step at a time. We don't have to rush it. Repairing what's broken takes patience. The world around them felt suspended in that moment. For the first time in a long while, Clara felt the weight of her heart lift and the thrill of possibility replace it. Yet another part of her feared reopening old wounds, afraid the cracks would deepen rather than heal. Just then, a loud laugh erupted from inside the bar, pulling their focus momentarily. Clara observed the scene behind Sam, the old band now in full swing, people swaying to the upbeat rhythm, joy illuminating the space. It felt like a stark contrast to the intensity of their exchange, a reminder that the world didn't stop for broken hearts. Maybe we should go back in, she said, breaking the silence that had grown profound and complicated between them. There was a part of her that wanted to indulge in the warmth of shared laughter, to drown out the heavy realities they both carried. But Sam shook his head, his gaze intense and unwavering. Not yet. We have to accept what happened before we can truly be free to move forward. Clara met his gaze, the past rushing back with every beat of her heart. Perhaps this was the turning point, the moment they could rebuild from the wreckage of their history. She felt a knot loosen inside her, replaced with something sweeter, something that felt like possibility. I want that, she finally said, finding confidence in her own voice. But what if we fall apart again? What's to say we don't hurt each other all over again? He took a step closer, his expression earnest and open. Because now we know what we have to lose. And we're brave enough to face it together. Clara's breath caught in her throat, and she took a moment to absorb his words. Could they truly brave it all? The past, the pain, and everything in between? Just then, she caught a glimmer of a new kind of magic forming between them, a thread connecting their hearts once more. But before she could respond, she noticed a dark figure slipping past the bar's entrance, eyes locking onto theirs, a fateful shake of the head hinting at more complications ahead. Sam spoke, his voice breaking through the rising tension. What if? Was their moment of truth about to slip away again? Could they withstand whatever storm brewed in their periphery? A new challenge loomed, and they were on the edge of discovery. Clara's heart raced. Was love enough to face the truth that was coming? Clara's mind spun as she tried to focus on Sam's voice. The figure lingering at the entrance caught her eye again, and a knot twisted in her stomach. It was Mark, a distant acquaintance from their past. His gaze seemed to reach deep into their moment, somehow tainting it with unrealized expectations. She felt a rush of adrenaline. What was he doing here? Brushing her growing unease aside, she turned her attention back to Sam. Maybe we should head inside. If we're going to have this conversation, I'd rather be in the warmth of friends, she said, trying to project confidence that she wasn't sure she felt. Sam shook his head slowly, concern etched into his features. Not everyone needs to know what we're talking about. This is just for us, right now. Just for us. The words echoed like a drumbeat, softer now amidst the laugh and cheer escaping the bar. Clara glanced at the old band playing lively jazz tunes. Their music weaved through the air, vibrant and alive, contrasting sharply with her swirling thoughts. Okay, she finally said, leaning into the moment. But we need to be clear. If we're doing this, if we're really trying, I need to know we won't just dance around the past. Agreed, Sam replied earnestly, stepping closer, so close that she could almost taste the memories they shared. I promise, I'll be honest this time. No more running away. As Clara searched his eyes, she saw the glimmer of determination mixed with a fear that mirrored her own. It was a kind of vulnerability that drew them even closer. The music pulsed behind them, creating a rhythm that matched the flutter of excitement in her heart. Just, tell me the truth, Sam. Why now? Taking a deep breath, he released a shaky sigh. Because life's too short. I let myself drift for too long. Losing you showed me that I took for granted what we had. I want to build something real, something solid. But what about the times we wanted to scream at each other? Clara's voice wavered, a mix of nostalgia and regret washing over her. The hurt, can we really overcome it? Only if we're both committed. We face the scars together, he insisted, a spark igniting in his voice. This time, I want to learn how to be better for you. Something inside Clara stirred, unearthing a warmth she'd forgotten existed. Could they truly start anew, with everything laid bare? She longed to believe that they could rewrite their story. The laughter from the bar surged again, and the bustling energy seemed to weave its way around them like a vine, urging them to let go of the past. Clara nodded slowly, her heart finally sinking with the exhilaration in the air. I want that too. Just promise you won't give up when things get tough. Never, Sam vowed, this time with an unwavering intensity. I want to choose us every single day. Just as she thought he might lean in closer to close the space between them, the shadow of Mark reappeared at the edge of her vision. Suddenly, he approached them, a knowing smirk on his face that sent chills down Clara's spine. Hey, I didn't know you guys were back in town. What's the reunion about? He asked, voice dripping with a casual tone that felt anything but innocent. Clara's heart sank, and she felt Sam tense beside her. The unexpected interruption unraveled the soft bubble they had wrapped around themselves. She shot Sam a frantic glance, uncertainty shadowing her excitement. What had just begun now felt precariously in jeopardy. Could their newfound resolve withstand this unexpected scrutiny? Would they reclaim their moment, or would the past crash back in, threatening everything before it even started? Clara's stomach twisted, a mix of excitement and dread flooding her veins as Mark leaned against the wall, looking like he belonged in the scene even though he didn't. The laughter from the bar seemed to fade, swallowed by the tension in the air. She shot Sam another quick look, silently pleading for him to say something. Mark, Sam said, his voice steady but edged with caution. We're just talking. How've you been? Mark shrugged, his smirk not wavering. You know, just living the life. But it seems like you two are having a moment. I wouldn't want to interrupt. His eyes flickered between them, assessing, evaluating. Clara felt anger rising within her. This was their moment, one they had just begun to claim, and now it felt tainted by Mark's presence. "We're fine, thanks," she replied, trying to keep her tone light, but the edge in her voice betrayed her. "Is that so?" Mark leaned closer, his gaze fixed on Sam. "You think she'll actually stick around this time?" It's easy to talk about commitment, but actions speak louder than words, don't they? The atmosphere shifted, becoming heavy with unspoken grievances. Sam clenched his jaw, irritation flashing across his face. "I don't think this is any of your business, Mark. Maybe you should just let us be." "Just looking out for old times," Mark said, raising his hands in mock surrender. "But hey, if you're both ready to dive back into the deep end, I hope you've learned how to swim." He chuckled, the sound sharp and discordant, before taking a step back, clearly enjoying the discomfort he de-stirred. Clara felt heat creeping up her neck. Couldn't he take a hint? She opened her mouth to retort, but Sam beat her to it. "Mark, why are you really here?" Sam's voice was firm, carrying an intensity that silenced the bar's revelry for a moment. Clara watched as Mark's smirk faltered, just a fraction, but it was enough to grant her a sliver of hope. "Just wanted to catch up with old friends," Mark replied, but dismissiveness dripped from his words like poison. "Friends?" Clara asked incredulously. "Last I checked, you weren't exactly friendly." "Touché," Mark shot back. "But I get it. You're working things out. Just remember, it's not always as easy as it seems." Mark's words hung over them like a dark cloud, casting doubt in the moment they had just started to build. Clara took a breath, trying to push the anger aside. She needed to focus on Sam, on what they shared despite the shadows of their past. "Let us go inside," Clara said softly, looking up at Sam, hoping he could see the stubborn spark in her eyes. "Let us not give him the satisfaction." "Yeah, let us," Sam responded, the fight in his body relaxing slightly. Just as they turned toward the bar entrance, Clara could feel Mark's gaze still burning into her back, but she willed herself not to look. It was time to take control, to reclaim their moment. They stepped inside, the air thick with music and warmth, but the lingering doubts hung around them like ghosts. Clara felt Sam's hand brush against hers, and it sent a jolt of electricity up her arm, sparking an ember of courage. "So where were we?" Sam asked, his voice softer now, but those words had power. Clara could feel the weight of everything they had scraped through crashing against the possibilities ahead of them. "Facing the past," she said, glancing up at him, searching for answers in those familiar eyes. "And hoping for a future." Suddenly, the vibrant jazz band kicked into a fresh tune, one that seemed to rise like a phoenix from the ashes of their earlier confrontation. It was intoxicating, a melody promising something more than just music and invitation. But just as Clara felt hope rekindling, the bar door swung open again, and in walked someone she never expected to see. The air shifted once more, tension snapping back into place. "Clara!" "Sam!" The new figure shouted across the crowded room, and her heart dropped. What had she done? Would this unexpected arrival push them even further from their goal? Clara's heart raced as she turned, her breath hitching in her throat. The familiar voice cut through the buzz of the bar like a knife. It was Brooke, her childhood friend, eyes sparkling with excitement but laced with an urgency that made Clara's worry deepen. "Brooke! What are you doing here?" Clara tried to sound surprised, but dread curled in her stomach again. Brooke had moved away years ago, chasing dreams of her own. Seeing her here felt simultaneous comforting and alarming. "You won't believe what just happened," Brooke exclaimed, weaving through the crowd like she belonged, despite the hiccup in Clara's heart. Sam's grip on Clara's hand tightened, his eyes flicking between her and Brooke, trying to gauge the situation. "Can we talk later?" he suggested quietly, but Clara didn't want to let go of this fragile moment they had just begun to forge. "We can talk right now," Clara insisted, forcing a smile, but panic bled into her tone. "What happened?" Brooke's expression shifted then, enthusiasm tempered with seriousness. "It's about the art show in town. They're showcasing a piece of yours. I thought you'd want to know. I just got the invite." Every ounce of excitement drained from Clara as tension skyrocketed. She had almost forgotten an art show, one she hadn't prepared for, not like this. Wait, what? The words tumbled past her lips. Yeah. It's just around the corner and they want you to give a speech. I figured you'd want. Brooke paused, noticing Clara's sudden stillness. What's wrong? Nothing. Just. I wasn't ready for this, she uttered, glancing at Sam, looking for reassurance. But instead, his eyes were filled with confusion. Clara, he said softly. You didn't mention it was this soon. I didn't want to burden you with something that's barely even real yet. Her breath caught. Things are complicated. Mark's voice slithered back into her mind, echoing warnings of her past failures. Clara's grip around Sam's hand became firm, a tether to the emotional chaos swirling in her thoughts. But now, as Brooke's excitement filled the air, she felt trapped, the past colliding with her present in a storm of uncertainty. Hey, we can go together. Brooke offered, her smile radiating warmth. It'll be like old times. Just the three of us. Count me out, Mark's voice managed to edge in, stepping into the conversation with his usual casual arrogance. She doesn't want to spread herself too thin, right? Clara felt her heart drop as Mark's comment landed like a lead balloon. The urge to push him away surged, but Sam spoke up first. No one asked for your opinion, Mark. Clara's got this. Mark shrugged, but Clara saw the flicker of irritation in his eyes, like an ember ready to reignite into a blaze. Sam, I appreciate that, but she hesitated. Was she ready? Could she do it? Hey. Brooke interjected. This is your moment. Just imagine what it could mean for you, Clara. Not just for art, but for you. Clara wanted to scream, to run away from the mixed feelings engulfing her. Could she actually take this step? In a bar soaked in tension and filled with the lingering presence of past mistakes, the thought of stepping back into the spotlight petrified her. But as she caught Sam's gaze locked onto her, the quiet strength in his eyes urged her to move forward. There was something different this time, something that challenged the fears that had held her captive for so long. All right, she breathed out, her voice barely above a whisper but firm enough to assert herself. Let's go. Brooke squealed, excitedly grabbing Clara's arm. But as they started to move, Clara felt the weight of Mark's stare drilling into her back. Doubts swirled in her mind, tangled with the thrill of possibility. What if Mark was right? Would this ruin everything? Tension built again, but it didn't deter her. Clara took a deep breath, determined to keep moving, toward the unknown, toward the art show and whatever awaited her there. But when they reached the door, another thought struck her. What if this moment meant not only revealing her art but also uncovering truths about herself she wasn't quite ready to face? As the door swung open, letting in the cool night air, the past and the future loomed large before her. And just as they crossed the threshold, Clara realized her greatest battle lay not in the art world but within herself, as she fought to reclaim not only her passion but the parts of herself she had nearly lost. Was she truly ready to embrace it all? Clara stepped into the lively art show, the vibrant energy washing over her like a warm tide. Laughter and conversation flowed through the air like a melody, drawing her into its comforting embrace. Yet the weight of uncertainty still hung over her, whispering doubts that lingered just beneath the surface. The gallery was filled with her pieces, her heart laid bare for everyone to see. Each painting was a reflection of her soul, vibrant colors that told stories of longing, love, and fear. Would they resonate? Would anyone feel the connection she yearned for? Here we go. Brooke cheered, her effervescence bubbling over as they walked through the crowd. Clara caught glimpses of familiar faces, some she hadn't seen in years. Each nod and smile became a silent encouragement, but the shadows of doubt hovered close. Are you ready for this? Sam's voice broke through the noise, grounding her. He stood beside her, steady and calm, reassuring in the chaos of emotions swirling around them. I think so, but what if they don't like my work? Her breath caught, betraying her apprehension again. They will. You're brilliant. Just be yourself. Let it flow, he urged, his warmth wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. With a nod, Clara took a breath, summoning her inner strength. This was her moment. The promise of transformation loomed, daring her to rise to the occasion. As they moved further in, she found herself drawn to her paintings, each one breathing life into memories both cherished and painful. When they reached the back of the gallery, Clara could see people gathered around her largest piece, a canvas filled with hues of blue and gold, vibrant swirls creating a breathtaking depiction of freedom and self-discovery. Her heart raced, each heartbeat echoing the notes of encouragement from Sam and Brooke. "Clara!" A voice called from the crowd. It was Mrs. Jenkins, her old art teacher. "This is stunning. I've been waiting to see what you create." The warmth of her praise poured over Clara, washing away some of her fears. She smiled, taking a step forward, prepared to engage. But before she could, voices from behind her caught her attention. "Do you really think someone like Clara is cut out for this world?" Mark's words wrapped around her, slicing through her resolve. The familiar bitterness tainted the air, but the strength radiating from Sam kept her anchored. "Here we go again," Sam muttered under his breath, frustration flickering in his gaze. Clara turned, meeting Mark's scrutinizing gaze. "Why does it matter to you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions churning inside. "This is my moment, my time to embrace who I am." His smile was smug, but behind it, she sensed the old insecurities lurking. "I just worry you might get hurt again. This art world is ruthless, Clara." "I'm ready for it," she replied, her heart pounding, and she felt a rush of defiance wash over her. "I won't be locked away by your fears anymore. I'm embracing all that I am." With that declaration, Clara felt the heaviness of her past release its grip. The applause from nearby patrons, drawn to the commotion, only fortified her determination. Muffled whispers of admiration filled the background, urging her forward. As Clara turned back towards her artwork, Brooke slid her arm around her shoulders, pulling her closer. "You did this, Clara. You came back, and you're right where you belong." Something inside Clara shifted, igniting her passion anew. What had once felt heavy and burdensome now felt like an exhilarating challenge. She turned to Sam, validation shining brightly in his eyes. "I can do this. We can do this. We're in it together," he smiled warmly, and the corners of her heart melted away all past worries. With the strength of her friends beside her, Clara stepped closer to her painting, drawing the attention of those around her. "This piece represents journey and healing. It's about letting go and embracing the beauty of who we truly are, scars and all." The crowd held their breath. Each word flowed like a sweet melody, pure and authentic, unfurling the deep-rooted struggles she had faced and overcome. It was a symphony of vulnerability and resilience, pouring out of her like a flood. A moment of silence followed her declaration, and then, the applause erupted like fireworks, filling her with warmth. Clara felt weightless, lifted by the love and support that enveloped her. Those present seemed to share in her experience, visions of hope and growth woven into the fabric of her words. In that moment, Clara knew she was no longer a prisoner to her fears. She had chosen the path of courage, embracing not just her art but her friendships, her family, and the desire to transform her life. As the crowd continued to cheer, Clara turned to Sam, heart overflowing. They locked eyes, her fierce gaze met his unwavering support. From across the room, she could see Mark, the weight of his judgment beginning to slip away, no longer holding power over her. What mattered now was her truth, her voice, her journey. It was a symphony she was finally ready to share with the world. And as the crescendo of applause echoed around her, Clara felt radiant, her heart and soul intertwined in the music of her life, the kind of healing that could only blossom from the ashes of the past. Because tonight was not just about art or recognition, it was about reclaiming her narrative, a story of resilience, hope, and unbreakable bonds that would guide her into a future awash with possibility. As Clara took a deep breath, ready to embrace the people surrounding her, she knew she was not just an artist, she was a warrior, painting her own path as she created her own symphony. In that moment of clarity, one thought surged forth. The time had come to truly embrace her journey, the time for transformation had arrived. And as if the universe whispered back, Clara vowed to revel not just in her art, but in every heartbeat of life, every note of the symphony she would compose going forward. Now, if you've loved this story, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. This is the moment to show your support. Make sure to leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach even more hearts. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything to us. Let's spread the love.